Hello and welcome to the GPVWC Supercup here at Spa-Francorchamps. Today, I'll be your lead commentator, Kacper Kołodziejczyk, and joining me is going to be Ben Willis.
Hello Kacper, hello at home, and welcome to yet another great bit of the evening's racing. Back here with the Supercup and back at Spa-Francorchamps, which is an amazing track full of history and should provide some really good racing.
Don't you think that it is absolutely a magnificent looking track and can provide some amazing racing, can it?
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's so much overtaking and some really good places to pass. Obviously, turn one with a hairpin. Got a DRS zone on the back of the Kemmel Straight, so great little overtaking opportunity there. And shaping up to be a good qualifying session at the moment. Alex Siebel out in front on a 155.4. He's been in brilliant form for the majority of the season, and he's keeping it going there.
Yes, he's doing absolutely amazing, and he is our championship leader. He can technically lose it within today's races, but it's very unlikely, because first of all, he would have to basically not finish all the races, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he's been doing really well at the top there of the standings, and he's just been race in, race out. He's had that consistency, scored some great results, and he's on his way to another pole, which will really help him. And so it's what you need in the title hunt. And
what an interesting fact it is that he also even missed the first round, double round in in Australia, and then DNF'd in Monaco and never raced the second race. So to be honest, he basically has two entire rounds, double rounds gone, and he's still leading by a margin of 26 points. That's very impressive, and we can see, I think, exactly why, considering his results here are fantastic. And last time we have personally actually commentated on it, we have seen him do some amazing stuff with those tires.
Exactly, he's been really good at going for the one-stop strategy and making the soft tyres last as long as he needs to, and keeping them in a good range with great lap times as well. And again, he's out there qualifying on the soft tyres. Pretty much everybody is, apart from Edward Batala and Matt Strand, who are 22nd and 23rd, so last of our qualifiers, which is pretty explanatory with the hard tyres on there. But yeah, Siebel out in front with 2/10 of a gap back to Dennis George in second. Dino Paolini's just jumped into second, actually. He's now only a 10th behind Siebel, so he's getting closer. With 40 seconds to go, he's got one more shot at it. So we'll see all those as he comes out the final corner.
Yes, and just look how close Fournier and Hoekstra are, for example. It is, to be honest, it is so very close. And then between the 8th place and 12th, it's less than a 10th.
Yes, yeah.
So close. I think this race could be an absolute stunner with how close we are. And I haven't actually personally been analytically following it too heavily, but last time around we had something very similar, it seems like.
Yeah, we had some great action in the last round over at the Nürburgring, the German Grand Prix, and something like the top 6 were really close together within 2 seconds for the majority of the race. It was some brilliant racing there. And looking at the qualifying times, top 12 within a second, and as you say, 8th down to 12th. There's a 10th in it. It's really close, and that's what we really like to see going into race 1.
Yes, also Dennis Jordan's actually on a fastest first sector of anyone so far, so perhaps he's a worthwhile person to look at, although I'm seeing him make mistakes, so
now you've cursed him.
No! The commentator's curse on the final lap.
Yeah, coming through second Stavolo there, and let's say he was oh wow!
Actually, the fastest lap so far of anybody. 2 purple sectors, and if he can keep this going, even with those small mistakes, he could actually take pole. Although now the middle sector has been taken away from him by Alex Siebel by a 10th, so this is a very touch and go for both of these drivers. It's all in the last sector.
Dino Paolini's improved as well on this lap. He's gone personal best sector 2 and personal best sector 3. Not enough to catch. Well, he's got past Siebel and gone second as Dennis Jordan jumps up into first with a 155.0. That's the fastest lap we've seen.
Another record on the final sector, and it was nearly a 10th quicker than Dino Paolini, but Alex Siebel goes faster. That middle sector decided the entire lap. That's 34,000th of a second, but Jordan was quicker through the first and final sector. It's just that the middle sector, he made too many mistakes.
Yeah, it's pretty much down to that. It's Jordan's middle sector wasn't quite up to scratch, and that's where Siebel's beats him there. Let's run down for the rest of the grid. We've got Dino Paolini in third, Wipke Hoekstra in fourth there, and then Jeffrey Fournier for Epic in fifth. Boy Milan P6 for TG Racing, good performance there, and Antonio Hrunovic just jumps up to P7 for Drake. That's another good performance for them. First year Zederix do a Tapper P8, out-qualifying Jason Muscat actually. That's a bit of a surprise. And Tobias Polotzik all the way down in P9. That's not where we'd expect to see him. And then Sandeep Choda for Hints Motorsport rounds out your top 10. So good performance from Hints there.
And yeah, it's very disappointing for Polotzik. We have seen some amazing stuff from him indeed, and although there are some names that I recognize further on as well, if we look further down with Edgar Ruiz in 11, that's a person that we have seen possibly do well at times. You know, Aran Jajowski can be a very quick driver. I definitely know that he can. So there are some definite disappointments. Jason Muscat could be even at times, wouldn't he?
Well, you'd expect, and sort of on balance this season, Muscat has been the faster of the two Zederix from Tapper, and he's up there in the championship standings as well. So you'd expect him to be a little further up the grid than P13, but it's a long evening. Our first race is 25 laps today with a mandatory pit stop, so maybe we'll look to try and get it back through strategy and trying to go a bit longer on the soft tyre, try and move his way up the grid that way.
Could be very interesting, and of course, it's a single mandatory pit stop. That does not mean that we'll see just one pit stop, and we have seen it throughout the last few races that some drivers do have to do 2 pit stops during a race.
Yeah, a few people tried experimenting, especially if they feel the soft tyre is suitably fast enough. They'll basically do 2 stints on the soft and then say a lap at the end on the hard tyre, thinking that gets them all time. On paper it tends to be a lot closer, and we've seen some people make the one stop work a bit better and taking those hard tyres for less of the race, trying to make the softs last a bit more, but only using one stop. Now, on balance it's been the better strategy, so interested to see what people do around here. Spa is a really high-deg tyre circuit. Well, there's a few tough corners. I mean, you look at places like Pouon as being a bit strenuous on the tyres, as well as Turn 18 through Blanchimont, so it'll be interesting to see if those soft tyres can last, for a decent one-stint race.
Yeah, it's a very, very fast circuit, and on a calendar like this is probably the second fastest track on the average after Monza. At least it used to be for years.
Yeah, that would sound about right, wouldn't it? With the Kemmel Straight and the DRS, it's not. I don't think in terms of top speed we'll be getting up to Monza levels. You still need quite a bit of downforce. Yes, exactly, because you need a little bit of downforce on the car to get around the middle sector. But in terms of average speed, I'd say it's up there with Monza.
Yes, so the entire middle sector, for anybody that doesn't know, at Spa, which probably most of you will, but it's absolutely a killer for the tires. As you mentioned, also the final sector, Blanchimont, but in the middle sector we have Lecombe, which is a very, very fast corner, even though it doesn't seem like it. We have Bruxelles, the corner with no name as it's named at times. I can't remember. I think
corner with no name has a very nice wall on the outside. It's turn 11.
Yes. Then we have Pouon. That's probably one of the quickest corners after Eau Rouge on this circuit.
Yep.
And after Blanchimont. And we have Campus, which is a massively fast chicane, which burns both of your tires. Stavelot, and then Paul Frere. All of those corners, the entire middle sector is basically just a tire killer.
Exactly, and there's no let up as well, is there? It's corner after corner, which means the tyres are working really hard. But then you look at Sector 1, and there's not actually much for the tyres to do. Okay, there's the bit through Eau Rouge up the hill, and braking into La Source, the hairpin. But apart from that, it's a good place to cool off those tyres. So I'd say, over the whole track length, it's balanced off, but that Sector 2 will really start to warm those tyres up.
Yes, and when you do warm tires up in our Factor 2, they do tend to go off very quickly. You have to be really careful. Although thankfully they do cool down fairly quickly if you know what you're doing. So yeah, it's not the worst of an issue, but if you push a little too hard, you may end up with the tires that may last even 2 or 3 laps less than anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, it's we do need that little bit of tire management knowledge. And again, that's what we've seen from the likes of Siebel, who is able to make those soft tires last to the point where he can sufficiently pull off a one-stop strategy and not lose out to people running, 2 stops with plenty of soft tyre laps. So, there's people out there who've got that nailed down to a T, and that's really helping them, and it will help them here.
Yes, so here is another thing as well. The entire circuit looks like as if the curbs are so flat. But they really aren't, are they? They can be very, very vicious if you drive over a seemingly flat curb, and suddenly the car just can come from underneath you.
Exactly. I was just watching Jason Muscat go through Blanchimont. The inside curb there is really steep. You don't want to touch that through such a high downforce, high commitment, 170-mile-an-hour corner. You get that car unsettled, and it's a trip into the wall on the outside. So definitely got to watch those curbs. But it's equally, you've got to be so committed to get the lap time here, especially through the likes of Eau Rouge, where you've really got to run the curve to get the fastest line up the hill. So all about balance and commitment.
So before we go as well, here is one last question to you, and this is gonna be big because we have seen some kind of promises of that maybe happening. Do you think we're going to have rain during this race, and what effect will it have?
Well, we've seen it sort of sprinkle on and off through practice, and so I'm not sure if that's down to a little bit of a bug in the weather system, or if that is the weather over at Spa. We may see a little sprinkle. I feel just a little bit may strike. Whether it'll be enough to bring out wet tyres, I don't know.
And yes, and it can be very, very tricky because you don't want to lose the time to go in for the wet tires either. And if you can hold off on slick tires, you should, but it could be very, very risky as well. And it could end up being, and we have seen this in Super League in Hungary. It can be, you can be very fast and then suddenly accidentally touch a bit of wet part of the track, and suddenly you're gone.
Exactly, and it could change the entire strategy if you've committed to 2 stops and suddenly the rain starts. That's going to throw your strategy into a bit of disarray. So who knows? Maybe we'll see the odd sprinkle. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near as much rain as we had at Hungary back the last time we were commentating. I can't see it happening. Maybe tomorrow for Super League. There's been a lot of talk about some thunderstorms hitting, but I think we'll just escape it tonight.
I do quite hope we're gonna escape it in a way, because this track, even in the dry, can provide some exceptional racing. So I wouldn't mind it, but I wouldn't mind it being dry either. And there's always that bit of randomness, which sometimes is interesting, but sometimes is a little frustrating if you have rain.
Yeah, it's but then you've got to be prepared for it, haven't you? You never know when rain could strike, especially at Spa as well. It's very famously known for having its own microclimate, being nestled in the Ardennes forest, in the valley of quite a few hills. You can have points where up at Stavelot it's chucking it down with rain. You get to the other side of the circuit, and it's bright sunshine. So it's a bit of a nature of the beast at Spa. But as I say, I can't see it massively happening tonight. I think it will be pretty sunny for most of the
race. Let's hope so. It's funny. It's a weather in the middle of the mountains, and it seems a bit like an Irish weather. It's very, very changeable. So,
I can see what you mean there. Yeah.
And by the way, we will be going in about 50 seconds or so for our formation lap. And before that, I'd like to invite every single person on both GPVWC stream and SimNews.TV stream to please post any questions or comments, and we'll take care of both of them and answer any questions that you may have.
Yep, well, I've got my eyes over on the SimNews one. I know Kacper's watching the GPV YouTube, so any comments, we'll get them read out. VBM have said hi to everybody and go Zedric. Obviously, there's a little bit of a link between VB and Zedric there, so a bit of sister team support.
Yes, and we do also have a Mike Pittman on the cameras today, which I have failed to mention. So,
rude.
I'm terribly sorry.
Here we
However,
go.
we are on our formation lap, and taking off from pole position is Alex Siebel, our championship leader. Behind him, so close in qualifying, it will be disappointed with his middle sector, Dennis Jordan. Then followed by Dino Paolini and his teammate Wopke Hoekstra. What a start from Zurich. Then Jeffrey Fournier, great stuff with Borja Milan, also not too bad, although, you know, he definitely wants to be up there with in that Zedric. Then we have Antonio Hreljanovic, which I'm probably butchering his last name. Oh, yay! Dowie Tapper in 8th, with 9 of Tobias Palocek. Very disappointing, as we have mentioned earlier. We think he knows he can do a lot better a lot of the time. Then we have Sandeep Choda, followed by Edgar Reef in 11th. 12th place for Jonathan Holmes. Jason Muscat in 13th. Again, disappointing for Jason. He would hope to be a lot higher, we would have felt. Then we have Aaron Yajowski with Patrick Gerber right behind him. Melaclunton 16th, right alongside Patrick, with Gerard Batala in 17th. 18th for Ryan Nash.
I think we just lost Kacper there for a sec, but continuing with the grid, 19th for Rob Mason for Epic, then it's Mark Fuller P20 for ST Racing, 21st is Jack Mayer for Hitsmo Sport, 22nd for Eduard Batala, Racing Team Stroton there, Matt Strand P23, the second of the Satellite Cars, Tom van der Voort in the second of the Drag Machines in P24, and finally we've got Josh Downward in P25. He's in the pit lane at the moment, and he is in the second of the Cosmo Cars.
Am I back?
And Casper's back!
Yay, I don't know what was wrong. Anyway, yes, we have one pit starter, and he's, well, to be honest,
staying in the pits.
Yeah, sometimes starting in the pits may be beneficial in terms of maybe avoiding the biggest.
That's why.
Oh, that is why. That would explain it all. But sometimes it does allow you to get away from all the absolute mess on the start. Especially, we know what happens at La Source. It's a mess, and this could be absolutely fascinating, but it could also go very, very wrong, which it has last year, if I recall correctly, since I did commentate on this race, and it was absolutely insane.
And so, just before we get going, your medium tyres, people who are starting on them, it's Edward Batala, Matt Strand, and Tom van der Voort. So 22nd, 23rd, 24th on the medium tyres.
Josh Downward is also going to the end of the pits, and we have 3, 4, 5 red lights. And here we go. Great start for Alex Siebel. Great off the line. Dennis Jordan as well. To be honest, the top 4 did very well to keep it all nice and clean. And they're going through La Source. They're giving each other a lot of room. No real spins. Oh, Yajowski lost a little bit on the rear and actually pushed. Wait, that's just Downward out of pits already in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. I think he'll be getting a penalty there. Oh, one car went a little wide at the exit by Rouge, but otherwise really clean start.
We have a crash, and that is a Matt Strand being pushed into the wall and then hitting Fuller. Mark Fuller is without a front wing. Okay. We're having issues with Jeffrey Fournier with his connection, by the way, I think. He has disappeared off my screen. He's there.
I tell you what happened to Matt Strand. Both Cosmos came together.
Wait. Right behind, we have a spinner. Dowie Tapper in now 15th, 16th. He has spun out by hitting. Oh, Thomas van der Voort again spinning. Oh, no. That was a hit. Fuller nearly hitting them as well. That was a spin right behind Fournier. So I presume, actually Fournier just left. I presume that's a disconnect. But
Polotczek was in trouble as well. He's dropped down, and as I say, both Cosmos caused Matt Strand's woes by coming together on the exit of Eau Rouge. Otherwise, Siebel has started streaking away at the front with a second gap over Dennis Jordan.
yes, so it was a bit of a messy start, and Brussels was where we had that little bit of a second mess. And it's so hard when you have so many cars so close at Brussels, and if you spin it, you just have no way of coming back before the entire pack goes by.
Exactly. I've got my eyes on P7. Jason Muscat looks for a move onto Edgar Ruiz down into the final bus stop chicane, but nothing doing there. A little bit of a battle back. That's Mason trying to get past Monoclon, but again, couldn't do much. Someone just died for the pits. Edward Patala.
He's gonna go off the medium tire and off onto the soft, I think, and we have Thomas van der Voort as well. Tom van der Voort, sorry, and he is with possible damage as well, but he is also going off the harder tire.
Nice little battle for P17.
Kacper in the pits as well.
Okay. Sorry, P18 and P19. Jack Mayer heavily defending from Joss Downward. I was quite surprised. He got out of the pit lane pretty quickly, so I think that may be looked into. But down right round the outside on the exit Eau Rouge. Nice move there. Is he going to have the DRS? He was behind, and they're really close together as they come into Le Combe. But Downward is past using the slipstream.
Yes, so that's a very weird one, but it also could be just the track bug. But do you then wait for the entire pack to go by? I'm not entirely sure. It's just the nature of the pit exit at Spa is that you cut a corner and you actually have a shorter way out, so it's a little odd.
Yep, I'm sure it will be looked into, so let's leave that for the people in charge. Meanwhile, Siebel still maintaining about a second gap back to Dennis Jordan in the Evolution Motorsports car there. And Paolini sitting quite pretty in third. He's starting to lose touch with Dennis Jordan in second, about a 2.5 second gap.
There could be a bit of a battle. Jajowski just made a bit of a mistake through just before Paul Frere, and we have Gerber on the outside going to Blanchimont.
This is brave.
This is very brave indeed, and he's actually a little slower now, possibly slightly different setup. Slots in right behind Jajowski, and is going to go for another outside move onto the chicane. Is he brave enough to actually do it there, as we have another person going wide? Edgar Ruiz nearly, he's going to lose Gerber in another position.
I'm not too happy with that rejoin, to be honest. It's a bit spoiled the battle a bit. He just seemed to sort of pull across the curb straight in front of Patrick Gerber, so I'm sure that one will be looked into. It's a bit of a shame, that one, because that spoiled what could have been a great little move up into turn one.
It looked great. It was a good move on the outside. He was actually keeping alongside until he had to basically break for Edgar.
Watch P14. Rob Mason heavily defending from Polotczek. Polotczek will have the DRS now.
However, Mason does have the better line. And Polotczek on the outside doesn't have the speed, but he is he able to keep it going? As in front of it, we have a touch between Gerber and Ruiz. Ruiz actually loses position, but we still have side by side between Polotczek and Mason. Amazing stuff to go for Le Combe side by side.
Really good battling there, nice and clean. Watch Ryan Nash behind as well. He's lurking around. He's could be looking to make a move.
Oh, Mason just hit the wall on the outside of the cone with no name. Oh, that's not going to do well to his car, is it?
That's not going to do well at all as they come through Puon, and watch as Polotczek now drops back. He's going to lose a lot of the aero over his car there by following Mason. And he's going to look to...
Now you look like Nash is going to try and move on the outside into the campus.
He's looking pretty feisty back there, isn't he? He's sort of sticking onto the back of Polotczek, maybe looking for a move. That is a slow ST car in front. That was just Gerber. I think he made a little mistake through Stavolo there.
Possibly, but he is now quite a bit in front, to be honest. And Polotczek seems to be readying another move on Mason for Blanchimont. Actually going to the outside again, is he? Yeah, okay, outside into the chicane. Breaks a lot later. Polotczek, a little bit of contact between the two. But Polotczek has it done. However, Mason gets a tighter exit, but cannot keep it going. Cannot get onto the throttle early enough. However, that does not mean that it's the end of the battle yet. Nash goes on the move on the inside, a bit of a dive bomb into Lassource, but he cannot make it. That was a bit of a late move.
Bit of a speculative lunge there for Nash. You did see there was a little bit of a gap for Mason, but not enough to get Carl's width and just backed out in time. I think Mason may be struggling with a little bit of rear damage actually after attacking the wall at the corner of No Name, because he was really slow with Blanchimont. Now watch as they're almost 3 wide down the Kemmel Straight. That's Ruiz, Mason and Nash battling up all the way into Lecom. Watch Mason, he's going to defend it well though. Held the inside and blocked off any chance of a move.
Great stuff, and actually it was through out for a second as Mason just goes sideways in that SC car.
He's definitely got some damage at the back, I think. He's really struggling. Oh, Nash has a little bit of a lock-up, and he's going to be all over in defence from Ruiz. He had a little bit of a front lock-up down into Bruxelles. It's not going to do his tyres any good either.
No, however,
and that's a rear wing. That's a rear wing off by Puon. Who's that? That's Yovsky. Yovsky's out.
Yovsky is definitely gone. That's a... Where was he even running? He was running fairly well.
He was, but he's dropped it at the corner with No Name. He just took too much of the outside curb, tapped the wall, span him off, and knocked the rear wing off, and that's the end of his day.
That is not how you want to end the race, to be honest. On the bright side, we do have Jeffrey Fournier, who's still running. He actually did a rejoin, by the way. He's a lap down, but he is running. We also have Menno Clont, who's running 2 laps down.
That was a disconnect as well.
It was also a disconnect, so a couple really unlucky disconnects. But they are running, and they could still be up for possible small points.
Battle for P15 here. Josh Downward in the Cosmo car, defending from Patrick Gerber. Downward goes a little wide on the exit, the bus stop chicane. Now watch for Gerber to make a move up into turn 1, La Source. Downward goes to the outside, massively open for Gerber to dive up the inside. Thank you very much. And a little bit of contact on the exit. Well, Gerber didn't really give Downward much racing room on the outside there. And now they're side by side into Eau Rouge. Close your eyes, Kacper. This could be close.
Oh, by the way, there was actually a little bit of a battle we just missed. Slightly up front, it was actually Jason Muscat who overtook Antonio Hrelljanovic for 6th place, I think. And actually, there could be a bit more of a battle since Hrelljanovic is making a bit of a mistake. Down in 7th at the moment, it has Chonda all over at the back of him, who, on the other hand, has Jonathan Holmes.
Whoa! Sorry, Patrick Gerber's gone straight on a Lecom, hit one of the anti-cuts, and he's flipped over and taken off the front wing. That's a very damaged SC car if I've seen one. And he's stranded in the middle of the road. They were him and Downward having a pretty feisty battle down the Kemmel Straight with a bit of questionable blocking, and then Gerber went straight on at Lecom and hit one of those anti-cuts at full speed, and that's not helped at all. So he's going to limp back to the pits, hopefully get that machine fixed. But
hopefully, but that is heavy damage. He's barely driving at all right now at any speed. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a retirement later on, and he is never going to catch up to any of them up in the front of the pack. But we have a bit of a battle there with actually Chonda making an attempted move on the outside on Hrelljanovic, but not quite able to make it before the chicane. So this could be actually a massive battle for what is a 7th place at the moment.
I was about to say, watch for Jonathan Holm down there in P9. Last year he put some pretty good performances in former challenge. Hasn't done much racing this year, but he's standing in over at Deltec Racing, and he's lurking pretty well there in P9, just holding on to the back of the slipstream from Chodo. And we'll have the DRS onto the Kemmel Straight as well. Let's watch P7 though. This could get interesting.
I think he has a very good run at the moment. This could end up in an overtake. He's going on the inside, doesn't quite have the top speed, however. So he's not quite alongside, and he's backing out of it. He's a little bit maybe too careful, to be honest. You kind of have to be aggressive and sure on the brakes to be able to overtake.
Yeah, definitely into Lecom. But then we are early in the race, so he's got a little bit of time. He can maybe try and out-strategize Hrelljanovic as well with the pit stops. So maybe he's just trying to play the long game here. As Gerard Batala is in the pits now, he's gone from softs onto the medium tyre. Quite early to be stopping. I wonder if he had a little bit of an off, or maybe got a flat spot on those tyres. 20 laps on the mediums, or the hard tyre I should say here. That's quite a long way to go.
considering Edward Batalla started a race on the hard tire, and after a lap, he went off onto the soft tire.
I think that was more a strategy ploy just to get the hard tyre out of the way. It's clearly not being liked by the drivers here. It was a good 3-4 seconds off in qualifying. Meanwhile, though, Siebel continues his dominance up front. 2.6 seconds is the gap back to Dennis Jordan in second, who in turn has almost 4 seconds over Dino Paolini.
I'm sorry, but we have another 7th place battle on the outside into the final chicane, and Chonda not breaking a bit late again, but not quite, but giving it up again. Radyanov is just having a lot better exit now out of the final corner. And it's just, I think Chonda just needs to be a bit more brave and maybe try to get a bit more on those or a bit later on those brakes and attempt that move, because he is faster out of corners.
Agreed, but he's not letting Hranovic be comfortable or put in any fast times, is he, boy?
Not at all.
By challenging, he's making Hranovic defend, and that's costing him lap time and allowing Choda to stay close. But again, Holmes is there back in P9. He's still sort of lurking, trying to pick up that slipstream.
And another move from Chonda, and of course they do have DRS, so this is actually on DRS, and I nearly have forgotten these cars in side-by-side contact. And Radjanovic goes by. That was very close, but now, as you said, Holmes is somebody he's going to have to watch out for because he's so very close.
Oh, Choda's made a mistake down into Bruxelles. Front right lockup. That's something we'll see a lot of tonight. It's a really tough camber corner there. And that lost him a little bit of time off the back of Hranovic, but Holmes couldn't really capitalise back there in P9.
Not quite, no. It's very difficult to capitalise in those places.
Meanwhile, Jack Mayer has retired there, and that is apparently he's had a little bit of an accident out there. And that's the end of his race one.
Yes, and of course that's not the end of the weekend for the race day for any of the night for any of those drivers. They can still do well in the second race. However, the starting positions are determined by this race, so you also it's a bit of a strategy game, and there is, of course, a reverse grid to pay attention to later on as well. But we'll mention that once it comes to it. Right now, what's happening is that we have Alex Siebel in front by 3 seconds. He's doing a great job. Dennis Jordan, the only person to be able to somehow keep up. Then the next person is already another 5 seconds down the road. So some amazing pace from the leading two.
I tell you what, shout out to Cosmo down in P13 and 14, who have both cars in the points at the moment. Okay, Dan was just made a little bit of a mistake. It's the bus stop chicane, as I mentioned it. But, you know, Ryan Nash's pace isn't too bad. He's hanging on to the tail of P11 and P12, really for Mason. So there's a chance here for some more points, which Cosmo really do need, being towards the bottom of the team standings.
By the way, we have a battle for 7th place again, and finally Chonda is by on the straight, going into Lacombe. Wow, that took him a while, but he was able to do it on the straight, and Radyanov just pulled out of it.
I'll say, watch for Holmes now, because he is all over the back of Hranovic. And if he can get a good run out the corner of No Name, maybe up into P1, if he can stay close, then he can think about a move, maybe into the campus chicanes.
I have a feeling like that Radjanovic may have been killing his tires a little bit too much, and now is going to be feeling the wrath of anybody who has tires that are a little fresher.
Maybe he does. Let's watch him through campus. Relatively clean, good lines there, but Holmes is slowly closing, isn't he? He's going to lose a bit of that aero from the dirty air in front. Oh! Hranovic's made a little bit of a mistake there. Bit of rear locking. He's gone wide at Stavlo. Holmes up the inside into Paul Frere. Thank you very much. That's P8 for Jonathan Holm there.
Great job from Holmes. And absolutely fantastic. Already up to P8. And Jason Muscat, who we have mentioned that it may be a bit disappointing of a qualifying session, he's already in P6.
Good start to the race, to be fair, actually. He's kept his nose clean, hasn't he, whilst everybody's sort of been battling and having a little bit of a bump into each other. Meanwhile, Edward Batalla is out. He's currently falling down the standings in P18 there, and that's suspension damage, so I'd suspect he's had a little crash.
And by the way, just a little update on Jeffrey Fournier. I'm seeing it in the chat. He's saying that it's something similar that we've seen at Silverstone, I think.
Yeah.
Where his Discord is still working. However, his game just disconnects, and apparently it only happens for him in Super Cup, so it's very unlucky and very weird because we have seen him lagging at the start of the race.
I wonder if that's something to do with packet loss or something, and, just struggling with a multiplayer game, trying to hold a connection. But that's not good for Epic Racing nor Jeffrey Fournier.
Sorry, it was Hungary, not Silverstone. Sorry, it's been a while. We had, of course, we had the long break, then I was sick, so I take the blame.
If we've been away for a bit, haven't we, Bill? And meanwhile, P8 and 9.
Yes, P8 and 9. Hurlyanovich is under attack from Jonathan Holmes again, and this is a battle which is going to go on for a while unless Hurlyanovich makes a mistake. But Holmes seems to be a bit more planted for Puon, while Hurlyanovich actually letting smoke out of his tires. In every corner, he's pushing the cars a little too hard.
I wonder if Hurlyanovich set up that Dre car for a bit of top-line speed as opposed to corner grip, because Holmes really managed to close through Puon. It just looked like he could just carry so much more speed. We need to watch them up into the bus stop chicane though and just see if Hurlyanovich carries a little more speed though.
He may, but I don't think Holmes is quite as quick as Chonda was on this race, to be honest. It could be down to the setup even.
Indeed it could, through bus stop chicane then, and Hurlyanovich needs to get a good exit, otherwise he's going to be under attack into turn 1. And he seems to have done that. Holmes is pretty close though, gap around 4/10. So Holmes isn't disappearing anytime soon. He will have the DRS on the exit of Eau Rouge, so watch for a slipstream pass. I'll
tell you something interesting. These two will have to watch out soon enough. Look who's coming behind them like a steam train.
Tobias Politex, isn't he?
Yes, and we know how fast Tobias can be. But now Holmes is on the outside, attempting a move a bit like Chonda did earlier on to overtake Hurlyanovich. Possibly attempting a move through Lacombe, not quite. Hurlyanovich just has the better line through Lacombe, and Holmes has to give up. And it's still very difficult. In some cars you can take it side by side, and in some occasions, but very often it's just too risky.
Hurlyanovich got lucky there. He was able to pick up the DRS off Sandeep Choda in front, so able to neutralise that offset in speed. Meanwhile, Rob Mason has taken a trip to the pits, and that seems a routine-ish stop, maybe to fix a little bit of the damage he had from tapping the wall earlier on the race. But he's onto the medium tyres now and will be trying to go to the end. 16 laps should be possible.
Now this will be interesting to see indeed. Maybe he'll be able to finish this race, but that also. Now this is interesting. Do you think we're gonna see a non-stop second race as well? I think it's gonna. Time will tell.
I think you have to non-stop in that second race, otherwise you'll lose so much. Being a non-mandatory pit stop race, it's always pretty close in that second race. We've seen it a lot this year, but no reason why they can't.
Definitely drivers like Alex Sebo in this pace is not going to do anything like that. But
watch, just watch P4. Boya Milan is slowly losing ground, and Wout Hoekstra in that Mazurek racing car very slowly closing up as they come through Eau Rouge. Gap around the 7/10 mark. So maybe Hoekstra can try and do something with the DRS along the end of the straight, maybe up into Lacombe. Let's see.
Could be very interesting.
Nothing doing there. He was a bit too far back actually. But if you can, get a little closer, he could definitely put a pass on here. I think Milan isn't lapping as fast as he needs to be to keep Hoekstra at bay.
Right, so Jeffrey Fournier is saying it's clearly a non-stop for a race too. Good to know. It's just a matter of, again, it's a high-deck track, and if you're gonna have some drivers pitting in already at lap 9 for for a new set of tires, I was just not sure if it's not maybe worth it. But on the other hand, yes, Hurlyanovich is seemingly defending really well, and he has this entire race. Really, it's just his own mistakes which are letting him down.
Hurlyanovich got back past Choda. We missed that.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yeah, so I wonder if Choda's made a mistake somewhere, and that's allowed Hurlyanovich back past, and he managed to gap him a little bit. Not by much, about 0.8 of a second is the gap. Jonathan Holmes still holding on to the back of Choda there, and Tobias Polocek back there in P10. Sort of the group from 7th to 10th covered by about 2 seconds there, so definitely one to keep an eye on.
It could be very, very close, and it could go on like this until the end of the race. Although it could also be it could also all play out in the pits. And who's going to pit first? Who's going to blink first, really? I think they're going to try and stay out as long as they can, but possibly one of them will try an undercut.
I think the differential between the soft and the hard tyre is so much, you've got to take the soft as long as possible. I think you just lose too much on the hard tyre. So it's almost a bit of a... how far can you go on the soft tyre before it really starts to darn you?
Yes, and I think once we see some of the better drivers do maybe see the times drop off, then we're gonna see some of the slower drivers move on. Yep. As we have a battle for 4th place between Hoekstra and Milan, but also at the moment for 7th place, actually Hrelljanovic just lost a place to Chonda on the straight. So we have battles all over the place. Would you mind keeping an eye on Hrelljanovic, and I'll just keep an eye on the 4th? So
I certainly will do. I will do. Choda got past, and it looked like, again, just a simple DRS pass up into Lecom, having a little bit more straight line speed. Obviously, Hrelljanovic being at the front of that train didn't have the DRS, and he slipped down because of it.
So it's always a bit of a tricky situation with DRS. On this track, it does make a lot of a difference.
Oh, sorry, Jonathan Holmes had a massive issue through Pawn. He's gone into a half spin, and Polocek had to dive all the way through the runoff, almost into the tyre wall to avoid.
Whoa, Holmes also. Okay, so we have 2 drivers, Holmes and Polocek, both being quiet in a bad situation because of it. However, take pressure off Antonio Hrelljanovic and Sandeep Choda.
You know how we were talking about curbs, Kacper, at the start of this race? Well,
yes.
Holmes just got over the outside of Puon a little bit too much, made that rear tyre really unstable, and lost the rear because of it. Went into a half spin. Polocek had to slam on the brakes and dive to the right to avoid. Meanwhile, Dennis Jordan in the pits.
Yes, Dennis Jordan. So that's 2nd place man, and he's going for a 2-pit strategy.
He's back on softs here at 12 laps, so he will stop on the final lap then to get that mandatory run on the hard tyre. He had to do something different though to counter Siebel, because I think it's pretty clear Siebel will go for a 1-stop, so he naturally had to do something different. This race is going to come back to him towards the latter part of it, so let's definitely see what Jordan can do, and he's got to make sure he doesn't get held up in traffic either. He's stuck behind Jason Muscat. Remember, he's got those fresh tyres now. Makes a dive up into Lecom. Nothing doing there though. Muscat shut the door on him.
Now, I'm not entirely sure. Do we have tyre warmers in the series, or do we start on cold tyres?
Well, by the way Jordan is driving, I don't think they're cold tyres, because he had loads of confidence to try and put a move up the inside. Just unfortunately, there wasn't enough space. But he's looking so much faster than Muscat. It's every lap he's now stuck behind Muscat is going to really cost him towards the end of this race.
Apparently, Jeffrey Fournier is saying that he thinks that we're going to see Alex going to pit this lap, and he's going to also go for a for a 2-stint strategy, or 2-pit strategy. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, that is a wise move to cover off Dennis Jordan there. My question is, will anybody try and do a 1-stop?
He's going into pits, and I think only if you're further back. But I think at this point, as we see, the tires are just not good enough to keep the pace for long enough, really. And I think they're just gonna use the soft tires for as long as they can, and then just switch tires to mediums for the very last couple laps.
Right, so Dino Paolini then inherits the lead. Was in a net 3rd place in that Majoric racing car. He's now 1st because he hasn't stopped. Maybe he will try and do a 1-stop, see if he can get an advantage out of it that way and maybe win the race. It's going to take someone to gamble now.
It is going to take a gamble, and but I don't. Do you think it's worth it? Because we are halfway through the race, so we only have less than half the race to go. So do you think somebody's going to take that gamble and go onto a harder tire after doing maybe a 1 or 2 more laps and then just finish the race like that? Or do you think the pace differential is just too big?
Well, I think if you want to win the race, you've got to. You'd be pretty stupid not to follow the same strategy. Well, pretty stupid to follow what Siebel has done if you want to win. So, got to do something different. As Dennis Jordan's finally got past Jason Muscat, that whole lap stuck behind Muscat actually cost Jordan about 4 or 5 seconds. The gap now between Siebel and Jordan towards the sort of 8-second mark. They've got Wutke Hoekstra in between them, who's yet to stop. So, not good for Jordan there. A great move from Alex Siebel to cover off that change of strategy. All down to who can do it, if anybody can do a one-stop.
I think it was a bit too early from possibly both of them actually, because so many drivers are still not into pits. So you're basically going to be stuck in traffic because the gaps are not big enough. So I think it's just a bit of a tactical mistake from Siebel and Jordan. I think they should have waited for another 1 or 2 laps, to be honest.
Well, Siebel's now stuck behind Boyer Milan coming up into the bus stop chain. Surely he's not going to go around the outside. Is there enough space?
There is.
You know what? Those new soft tyres, he's made it stick on the exit of the bus stop chicane, and that puts Siebel now up into P2. Obviously, Paolini yet to stop. So, Paolini, I think, may be trying to one-stop this.
Apparently, here's something quite interesting. Apparently, Jeffrey Fournier is saying that Siebel and Jordan are actually quite good friends, and they're actually practicing together, so it's no wonder why their strategies are so similar.
Well, fellow Germans, maybe a bit of compatriotism. I think that's the word I'm going for there. But it would make sense. They're following the same strategy at the moment. Boyer Milan, watch him though. He's coming back for P2. Going to try and go around the outside into Lecom. Side by side, not enough grip on that outside though, and Siebel holds on to second place.
That's, they're still trying to bite, and of course that DRS is always going to help. But now I think Siebel is going to be able to get away for over a second and just drop that DRS away so that Borja is going to have to more worry about Wutke Hoekstra, who's right on his rear end right now, more than Siebel in front of him.
Van der Voort and Downward into the pits from 12th and 13th respectively. Both go on to a new set of them. Downward's gone on to the medium tyre. Van der Voort's gone on to another set of softs. So Van der Voort planning a 2-stop, Downward onto a 1-stop there. Van der Voort actually overshot his pit box slightly, so that's cost him a couple of seconds. So not good for the Drake driver there.
Yes, and apparently we had Van der Voort actually started on hard, so he is. I think he's going to take it to the end, to be honest.
So that is a 1-stop then.
It's a 2-stop, kind of, because he started on hards, I think came in on lap 1, and then came in on now for the second set of softs. So it's actually his third set of tires.
Okay. I'm losing track already. This is not good. Meanwhile, Siebel is slowly closing up to Paolini, actually. Gap within 4 seconds now. Obviously, Paolini yet to stop, and we expect Siebel in again. So this is sort of really for the overall lead. Yes, and
to be honest, yes, actually, Paolini does look like it is fighting for an overall lead like this, and it's actually fascinating how 2 completely different strategies, and they look like are gonna come so close. Again, as we talked about in the beginning, it's going to be a very again, it seems like the 2-stop strategy is faster, but then you have to account for the traffic, and that's where you usually lose it. And we have seen that in in real life race series as well, especially in Formula 1 and similar, where a driver that decides to take 1 more pit stop is just vulnerable to traffic.
Exactly. Due Tapper is in from P12, and he is going for, let's see what he changes onto. It looks like another set of soft tyres there for the Due Tapper. And also Jonathan Holmes, after his little mishap through Pouon, he switched onto the medium tyres, and he's going to the end on 1-stop.
So that looks like definitely 1-stop. Any driver that's changed already had hard or medium tires on, I think is quite obviously going to be going to the very end of the race after they're midway through the race pit stop. No matter if it's hard or soft tires that they put on, but as long as they, of course, they do have to use both compounds.
And I tell you what, Dewey Tapper used a combination of DRS and fresh tyres to great effect to get past Josh Downward for P14. And Tom Vandervort's done the same to get past Ryan Nash for P12.
Now, are we going to have any other on-track battles there? Well, we can have Hradianovic. It's still that big battle for 7th place between Chonda and Hradianovic. And I don't think that's going to go away until the end of the race, to be honest.
I was about to say, both are yet to stop. So they're sort of playing the cat and mouse game. You know, who's going to blink first? And maybe, so if Hradianovic pits first. And, Tapper's been off! What has happened there? Oh no, he's lost it into Bruxelles on those new tyres. He's got onto the curb a bit too much. That's looped the car around, and unfortunately he's tagged Downward as well. They both ended up in the wall. Downward's carried on, but that is a race ender for Dewey Tapper.
And we have Edgar Reef in the pits on the out on the soft tires now. I presume that's the last of the stops for Edgar, but I'm not sure. Did he actually?
No, he started on soft tires.
An odd decision.
So he's gone softs again. It's quite late in the day to do that. He's got 9 laps left to run, so he will have to come in again by our reckoning.
It's a bit of an odd decision at this point in the race, because you're not actually that far off the finish, and you'd think that at this point you wouldn't want to do another pit stop, or you would have come in earlier.
Agreed, unless he feels the medium tyres are that bad and he can't get them to work, and he'd lose way more time by doing one stop. It's bold cool, but you know.
You know what? I'm very impressed with Dino Paolini at the moment. Even though he's on way older tires than Alex Ebel, he's still maintaining the gap. Yes, he's losing slowly, but the difference in the lap times is less than a second a lap. And remember, these tires have a difference of about 12 or 13 laps. Yeah.
Totally right there. All Paolini actually needs to do is just keep Siebel back, which doesn't sound like much, but then this is Alex Siebel. So, bit of a big task, but that's what he's got to do to win the race. They both need to stop again, so this is a battle on track for the win.
And we know that Dino Paolini is capable of winning races. He is no slouch.
Exactly. He is certainly no slouch. He's shown time and time again his brilliant speed, and he is P2 in the championship. So this is also for those vital championship points to try and claw something back at Alex Ebel. Meanwhile, P7 though, Hrelovic's just lost out to Choda up into Lecom, and Choda goes round the outside using the DRS and slipstream to get past. And that's P7 for the Hintz Motorsport driver.
They seem to really be enjoying that DRS overtaking in spots, aren't they? So it seems like they definitely know how to use it to the greatest effect. But I have no idea which one of them is going to come out on top.
I think if I were Hrelovic now, I'd be pitting for a set of medium tyres and try and undercut, knowing that Choda still has to switch onto them.
Yes, and both of them have to. But then again, are they now fast enough to be quicker than a 17-lap-old soft tire, is the question. Because they should. Well, I would think that they should, but we've seen that they're very, very slow.
I think he's got to, because he's not exactly hanging onto the back of Choda at the moment, is he? He's slowly losing out. Downwards back into the pits. I'm assuming that's for damage after the collision with Tapper on the exit of Bruxelles there. Not good. He may be able to hold on to P15 and get a double score for Cosmo. They desperately need it.
Well, he's definitely going to be trying, and at the moment he is definitely succeeding, and I think he has quite a bit of a gap to Gerard Batalla, who's in 16th place. And he's actually just a lap behind, Alex Siebel, who's 1.7 seconds behind Dino Paolini. Oh, this is going to get exciting.
Indeed it will. Jason Muscat is onto pit road. He has ditched his 18-lap-old soft tyres, and takes a fresh set of the mediums. Drops from 6th to 8th, but he is able to do a 1-stop, and Choda and Herelovic yet to stop, so he should be back up into P6.
So, Kacper is not very happy with how it went, and he's, I'll put it mildly, he's not very happy in the comments section. I'm not sure if it's with himself, but
he has another race to redeem himself, so
does.
It's not all over yet, do I? Meanwhile, I tell you what, let's keep an eye on Boya Milan in P3 there, because he's also yet to stop. He's only 6 seconds off Paolini, so he's maybe a little too far away to challenge the lead, but if something happens, he'll be there to pick up the pieces. And,
speaking of the lead, that's only half a second.
Now, how is that? Is that because of Mark Fuller and they're trying to get past him, I think? Because that gap has absolutely plummeted. Can Siebel get past Fuller? Fuller moves over to let him go. And this is going to be really close now when Paolini responds.
I think that was the only right decision, because Siebel was about to get through for him like a freight train, because there was no way he's going to stop him on the DRS with the softer tires after Eau Rouge. But now the question is the pace that we're going to see from Dino Paolini on the harder tire.
This is an absolutely crucial phase of the race now. Paolini's really got to hope he doesn't come out in any traffic, and he can just put in some really clean, really quick laps. And he's helped. Yes, that has really helped Paolini there, because it means he's not caught up in that battle.
That is very good news for Paolini, and now he has a lot of track, as we have a battle for third place.
Yep, Dennis Jordan's got past Wupke Hoekstra. Hoekstra yet to stop. Jordan using those fresher tyres there to get past. Jordan still to stop again, I believe. But he's got past pretty cleanly there.
Is Hoekstra also... yes, Hoekstra still needs to pit himself.
Yeah.
So this was a clear battle for positions, and I think they're basically fighting for 4th and 5th place.
Exactly. Race off pit road, P8 and P9. Sandeep Choda's losing out to Antonio Herelovic on the run up to Lecom. They're side by side into the braking zone. Who's going to yield? Oh, they're sticking to it. Too wide through Lecom there. Choda with a little bit of a drift. And, oh, they just avoid making contact. Really clean racing between these two. Into Bruxelles now. And again, they're still too wide.
But Bruxelles is a one-side corner. I'll tell you right now, I had a battle exactly like this in GTE car in another simulator. And it ended up in exact the same way. We have put it side by side for every corner, Lecombe, everywhere. But Bruxelles, if you're on the inside of Bruxelles, you have it. But it's so impressive to see in a single-seater.
It's a really clean, fair racing between those two. Really nice to see. Meanwhile, Milan pits from 3rd place there, so he's coming in for his one and only stop onto the medium tyres, closely followed by Wupke Hoekstra making his one and only stop as well.
Fastest lap of the race from Dennis Jordan, by the way. 1:56 flat with the fastest first sector of anybody. So Dennis Jordan putting in some great laps, but he's 9.5 seconds behind Alex Siebel.
And still has to stop. That's crucial.
Both of them have to stop.
Exactly, so 1st and 2nd still have to stop.
Oh, that's
Paolini doesn't.
That's Melaclont on the... Yeah, he just spun into Lacombe, I think.
That's not good. He's the last of our runners, and he's taken a very... Oh, he's gone off into the wall. Oh, dear. Well, I'm not sure what happened there. He just understeered straight off.
And has retired the car. To be honest, he was the last of the runners, so it really didn't make any difference. He was 2 laps down on anybody. But to be honest, oh, what a disaster of a race for Menno.
Not good there. Meanwhile, Tom van der Voort has recovered nicely from back of the grid at the start of the race, up into P11. So this is set to be a double score for Drake, which they desperately need. Meanwhile, though, we've got to keep an eye now on Dino Paolini and how much of a gap he has to Alex Siebel. If he can keep it within, well, it's about 18 to 20 seconds for a pit stop here.
Something like that. I'm looking at the sectors right now, and the first sector was 2/10 slower by Dino Paolini over to Alex Siebel. We'll see for the middle sector in a few seconds, I'd say. And at that point, I think we'll be able to tell if Dino Paolini is nearly a second slower in the middle sector. I think the tires are still slower.
I agree. Paolini has the advantage though of clean air, which means he can really sort of nail down and get some decent laps in. He really needs to if he wants to have any chance of a win here. Gap now 21 seconds.
I think Zebo also has a clean air, so I honestly don't see it going any other way than Alex Zebo taking it this time.
Well, we still got a pit stop to go. There's still plenty that can change here. Dennis Jordan is second, stuck behind Mark Fuller on the run-up to Eau Rouge. That's not going to help him or the aero over his car from the dirty air of Fuller in front. He's going to have a little bit of a run on him and try and get past him before the comp.
1.5 seconds was the difference last lap between Alex Zebo and Dino Paolini. We're going to have to see this lap, but Dino has to put the cat out of the bag. Otherwise, this is going to be over.
Yep, I agree. Zebo not having any trouble at all on those soft tyres, and why would he? Because it's his second set. It's fairly fresh, so all Zebo needs to do now is sort of keep it on the track and keep lapping at the pace he is, and then make that stop, and he should be all right.
Yes, Dino again not going any quicker, even a couple laps, and I just think that the medium tires are just too slow. They're just not a competitive tire.
Agreed. Right, we need to see then where Dennis Jordan filters into this, because he's 10 seconds down the road from Zebo, which means Paolini should get past it. Oh, what's happened to Edgar Ruiz? He's retired with suspension damage. Has he hit a wall? Let's have a look. Oh, yeah. Yes, he has. What has happened? Ah, curbs again. Exit of Paul Frere. He's got onto the AstroTurf and the curb on the outside. Car's bottomed out and spun into the tyre wall at really high speed. And a lot of damage.
I said to everybody at the beginning, this track is deceptive when it comes to curves. The curves are so flat, but they are profiled in such a way that cars bottom out everywhere. And because the track is pretty flat in many ways, the cars are fairly low down, which is only going to exaggerate curves like these.
Trouble for Sandeep Choda. He had a big off at Pouon. Again, curbs. Rear end of the car bottomed out, stalled the diffuser, spun into the runoff, and that's let Hiranovic get past into P8 and give him about 3 seconds clear air. That's some very damaged tyres for Sandeep Choda.
I don't think it's going to be well. It is going to be uncomfortable, but it's only a few more laps to go in this race. As Alex Zebo goes for the fastest lap of the race last time around, he's on fire.
Those tyres are well worn, nice up to temperature as well. So he's putting in some great laps there. Remember, the track will be a bit more rubbed in as well, which is sort of playing to his strengths in that he's having a bit more grip and not leaning on the tyres so much. So.
And of course, the cars are getting lighter and lighter and lighter. The fuel levels are going down, and of course, there is no refueling in this series. And apparently, Dowie Tapper is saying that he feels like his car just spun somewhere where it usually doesn't. It lost the front wing and then just gave up. So. Yes, again, it's tricky. With these curves, it's just, you're never really sure, and you have to attack them to be very quick, but then you can't attack them too hard because you're never quite sure what they're going to do to your car.
So one of the key traits of these former Renault 3.5 cars is they have an extremely stiff front end to them by default, which means if you do touch a curb, it can very easily unsettle the rear of the car because the front just doesn't move. And that was sort of his issue through Brussels. He did take a little too much of that inside curb, and the rear sort of snapped on him, so not ideal at all. But there is a second race, and hopefully he can fight his way up from the back and score some points there.
I would hope to do that. And to be honest, it's just... It is not easy to drive these cars as quickly as these guys are. It is a very, very tough job, and well, mistakes happen. It always does in racing. It's just a matter of life. But now we have now just back on the track. We're seeing that gaps are actually are widening, so we're not really seeing too much on track action.
I tell you what.
However,
oh, what have you spotted?
every single runner is going to be a point scorer.
That is very true. Very true. And also watch out for Van der Voort, who's closing up to Jonathan Holmes, so P10. What I was going to say is we are expecting Siebel and Jordan in this lap, because the next one is one to go. So Siebel will be in for his second pit stop, and same with Dennis Jordan. We need to see where Jordan ends up. I think even Boya Milan could just about sneak past Jordan and get himself onto the podium. It's going to be extremely close on the exit, so that's one we've got to watch as they come round next time.
Yes, but I think honestly Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan played it perfectly to their strengths in terms of going onto the softer tyre. And
sorry, I was just going to say, P10, Van der Voort's got past Holmes on the run up to Lecombe. He's going to have, yep, he's got the DRS and pass. Watch for Holmes to try and attack back. No, he's not going to do it into Lecombe. So 2 Drakes now in the top 10. That's the points they need. Alex Siebel in the pits, you're totally right there. And watch as Dennis Jordan follows him in, making their mandatory switch onto the hard tyres. So, crucial time now. We've got to see where Paolini, Milan, and maybe even Hoekstra filter out in this one.
And I'll tell you right now, the one thing that you haven't mentioned with Van der Voort battle with Holmes is Van der Voort is on the softer tyre. He's on the hard tyres and managed to pull his way from the back of the grid essentially all the way up to 10th. So it's a very impressive race from Tom. Right,
so Siebel has got past Paolini as we expected. Paolini comes out P2, Jordan P3 on fresh tyres. Can he try and hunt down Paolini in the final lap? I doubt it. Quite a big gap. And Milan, unfortunately, wasn't quite close enough. Stays P4. Polozek is in for a stop as well. He's down now in P7. Haranovic's going to get past here, and I think so will Choda. And that'll be touch and go on the exit.
And yes, it will be very, very touch and go. Polozek just barely holding it together, but I think he's going to be able to hold it. However, Chonda is going to be on the warm tires either way, and on settled in pace. And if he can get DRS, which I'm not sure, I don't think he's going to get DRS. I don't think he's going to be able to make it unless he puts some incredible middle sector in and overtakes into the final chicane.
Has to be a mega middle sector, at least a second faster, because Polozek's tyres now as he comes through Lecombe will really start getting into temperature, and he's going to have the advantage of a fresh set of mediums over a worn and somewhat damaged after a spin set. So
yes, of course it is damaged. However, they're still not that old. But yes, the damaged tyres. I completely forgot that Chonda has actually spun.
He did indeed, had his little accident to pull on. But let's look back to the lead then, coming through the final few corners. Alex Siebel, who has pretty much dominated this race with some great strategy.
So yes, absolutely fantastic stuff as we see him go through the final chicane. Alex Siebel, our race 1 winner and our championship leader, extending his lead. Fantastic race, pretty much flawless. With Dino Paolini in second place. Great stuff. Great attempt at a different strategy, 1 stop, however not quite fast enough. Dennis Jordan, exactly same strategy as Alex Siebel, not fast enough, or pitted in a bit too early, I think. He got stuck behind another driver, followed by Bora Milan. Wopke Hoekstra comes in 5th, with Jason Muscat in 6th. Great recovery drive after a quiet and disappointing qualifying. Antonio Hreljanovic in 7th. Tobias Polozek just about... Oh, Chonda spins in the final corner right behind him. So yes, Tobias Polozek in 8th place. Chonda in 9th place. We have Tom Van der Voort with a great drive into 10th place. Well, hopefully, yes he is. There we go, Holmes coming into 11th. 12th, Ryan Nash still on the circuit, but it is a guaranteed 12th place at this point.
Well, you say that he had a bit of a drift then, but
well, even if he retires now, he's actually in front of Josh Downward, who already finished the race. So he's guaranteed 12. 13th place for Josh Downward, 14th for Mark Fuller, and last one of the finishers and the last one of the point scorers is Gerard Batalla in 15th. And yeah, exciting race, wasn't it?
Brilliant race. We saw a good mix of people trying different strategies up the front to try and get into the lead. Didn't quite work out two-stop this time turned out to be the more preferable choice, and Siebel made great work of it with a great dominant drive at the front. Shout out from me to Cosmo for the double point score, something they really need down in P12, 20 and 13 even. And also good recoveries from Jason Muscat after poor qualifying for P6. And also Jonathan Holmes on his debut this season in Supercup with a P11. So nice finish there.
I'll be perfectly honest. I would love to see Alex Siebel in Super League next year, because he seems like a person with a lot of talent.
The way it's going, I think... Oh, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in Super League, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised to see Multiforce make the jump as well if they were willing. They've definitely been in Super Cup long enough to have plenty of experience and reputation to move up, and they've done really well this year so far. Although, in saying that, Menno Klont in the second car, maybe not pulling his weight fully.
Not today, anyway. Not in the first race. The second race, he's going to have to do a lot better. However, in general, he's. I think Menno, as far as I know, Menno is a great development driver. But
for sure,
I'm not sure about a full-out just live on the top with the top guys in this series and Super League. I think they would have to look for possibly a second driver and keep Menno as a test driver. Who, to be honest, let's be honest, the test driver in any race team is actually one of the drivers who does some of the most work throughout the season. But
exactly.
Yes, and we will. And to be honest, I'd say a couple of the teams here will have a test driver who also helps out with the setup a little bit, especially the top guys, because you can't ever have enough laps.
Exactly. Really helps with developing that setup, getting the experience and the feel of the car, and usually you can tell who's been doing the most laps when you turn up to a race evening, because they're always towards the front. Putting in that practice really is rewarding, and really makes you have that good pace for the evening.
And Alex Siebel is, I think, the one key word about Alex Siebel this season, and we can see it from this race, we can see it from pretty much anywhere we've watched them except for Monaco, is, well, though to be fair, that's consistent as well. He's just so consistent, just everywhere. Getting the points, getting the podiums, getting the wins everywhere, doing a fantastic job, and just not giving anyone else a chance.
That was race win number 9 for Alex Siebel this season, the most of anybody on the grid. And as you say, it's that consistency that's keeping him up the front of the Driver Championship. That's what you really need to win the driver's title, is consistency. It's all well and good being fast at one track and then suddenly 2 seconds off the pace at the others. We've seen that from some people. For example, Antonio Hranovic, who got a win over at round 4 at Valencia, and then sort of since has been a little bit off the boil towards the back of the top 10. You really need that consistency to be out the front of the Drivers' Championship and to win it. And that's what Siebel's been doing.
Yes, and exactly that. And yes, this is not as big of a performance as we've seen last year from Lars Brugman, but to be honest, this is what I find even more impressive is that he missed 2 rounds, and he's still leading by a race win, over a race win.
Pretty special, isn't it? Although I don't think anything's going to live up to the dominance of Lars Brugman last season. That was truly something to behold. But now we move into race 2, we do need to consider the reverse grid. Obviously, here in our second race, we have a reverse grid. It's a randomly drawn number between P6 and P10. So your candidates for this one are Jason Muscat in P6, Antonio Hranovic in P7, Tobias Polotzek in P8, Sandeep Choda in P9, and Tom van der Voort in P10. So we await to see who gets drawn on pole, and that could be a bit of an issue for Siebel if it's a top 10 reverse, Kacper, because that could really hamper that race too. But then
it can be very difficult.
Seen how consistent and fast he is, so he'll be looking to move throughout the field, as quick as possible.
Here's a little bit of a fun fact for everybody. I have only raced in, I think, total of 2 rounds in GPVWC, in which I have gotten 1 pole position by getting a reverse grid.
Person.
By getting a reverse grid lucky. Yes, so
I think in my 3 years in Formula Challenge, I may have got 1 reverse pole.
And it's very difficult to keep, isn't it?
Yes, I'd lost it by turn 1, so...
I think I kept it for like 1 or 2 corners. But no, it's very difficult. I was actually going for 5th place and then spun it.
Oh no.
And then I finished in like 10th or something. But yes, no, it is very... the level of driving here is actually quite incredible in terms of how difficult it is to do very well. And when you do get that reverse grid penalty, which is Chonda, number 9. Perfect.
Poor old Tom van der Voort missing out there by 1 position, and he proclaims his annoyance in non-suitable broadcast language, shall we say. In the naughty words, but that does mean obviously Sandeep Choda on pole. He will be joined by Tobias Polotzek on the front row. Then your second row will be Antonio Hrelovic and then Jason Muscat. Row 3, Wupke Hoekstra and Boya Milan. Then row 4, Dennis Jordan, Dino Paolini. Row 5, Alex Siebel and Tom van der Voort. And then the rest of the grid was how it finished in race 1. If you've been watching along and you're enjoying it so far, then feel free to leave a like and a subscribe over on the GPVWC channel, and also over here on SimNews.TV we do have a Supercup show rounding up everything from tonight that we've probably missed, Kacper, because you know what we're like. So
yeah, if
you want to look back at the race in a bit more depth, then join us next Wednesday, and we have a great team there doing the Supercup show. And then tomorrow as well over on the GPVWC channel is the GPVWC Super League. It's our premier class here in the career ladder. And again over on Sim News channel we do have the Super League show every week Thursday, again going into extreme depth, and you get to hear me and Kacper usually talk way too much about tyres and all the intricacies of them in Super League. So give that a watch as well if you feel like it. And we then are just counting out the last few minutes of warm-up whilst everybody...
people are having a bit of fun in chat as well. And, Sandeep Choda has actually said he doesn't want the pole.
Interesting.
So at that point, we have had Tom van der Voort enters downward sail. They'll have him, but I don't think that's how it works, unluckily. So having a bit of fun, and yes, there's always a little bit of joking around in the chat between races because, come on, there's always a bit of a community around, and that's
what we like to see, isn't
racing.
it?
Yes, that's the nice thing about racing. I find that unlike some other game. Professional, maybe not even professional, but high level.
Watch your words here, Kacper.
High level gaming types, MOBAs, etc. There's so much toxicity, and here there is some toxicity in sim racing. Of course there is, but I feel like there's a lot less, even at especially at top level. To be honest,
I mean, it's always like, at the end of the day, what we've got to remember is people do this for fun. That's why we commentate as well. It's a nice change the evening, maybe after a day's work or a day's study or something. You know, it's nice just to have a bit of a break and a bit of fun sim racing. So it is nice to see that community, and obviously with warm up, a bit of a break between races. It's a good chance to have a little bit of banter, and also to maybe get used to the car again if you were running on the mediums towards the end of race 1, to get used to what the soft tyres feel like again, maybe on a bit of a lower fuel load as well. So that's what the drivers are doing at the moment.
Yes, again, they are going to be less loaded up during the race, so that's going to help the tyre wear as well throughout the race.
Also, the track has a bit more grip because it's carrying over its grip from race 1, so hopefully a little less tyre wear as well. Hopefully people can get those softs to last 15 laps then, because obviously we saw quite a few people decide to ditch off the soft tyre quite early. So hopefully they can push it for the 15 laps. That's what we'd like to see. We may see a lot of tyre degradation towards the end, and a lot of crazy battling because of it.
it could be very, very interesting at the end again, as you say. And we have seen drivers which were having struggles with their tires, which means that now they have to last even longer at times. Although we have seen drivers last this long, as for example, Vino Paolini last race. And yes, you do lose probably about a second lap by the end of it, but that's still not a lot, is it?
Yeah, I mean, that gap between the soft and the medium tyre, I think it was pretty clear that that soft could really hold on for quite a way. And you know, it's clearly the fastest tyre here by a good margin. So today, that 2-stop was the right move. Hasn't always been though. Obviously, I look back to Silverstone when we last had the dry race that we were commentating on, and Siebel went for a 1-stop there, and it turned out to be the better move than going for a 2-stop. So it's track dependent at the end of the day. So as I say, hopefully these soft tyres will last the 15 laps, and we'll get some great racing out of it.
So yes, they should hopefully last in any case. But and you just have to adjust your driving style a little bit. But let's maybe not talk too much about the tires, considering our reputation from the Super League show.
That is very true. I think we should probably stop as we move into the race session.
Yes, we are a little bit off the rockers when it comes to tires, I think, at this point, and I may have or may have not started it.
I blame you entirely, Kacper.
Great.
As everybody starts to grid up now, make sure they got their right setups on, got the fuel loaded, and obviously you really want to be on those soft tyres now. It's clearly the best choice.
So I haven't asked you in the first race, and I think we just were too excited to get back to doing this after 6 weeks of being away. But who do you think is going to win this one?
Ooh, tough one. But for me, it's between Tobias Polotzek and Jason Muscat. I think both their paces were pretty good. I think Siebel's maybe a little too far back to maybe go for the race win, but then he did have great pace. I'm going to put my money on Polotzek.
I'm going Muscat.
Fair enough.
I think a little bit quicker and a little bit more consistent in last race. As we're off for our formation lap, and Sandy Choda, the person who apparently doesn't want the pole position, but here he has it. So he's starting off in the front row with Tobias Polotzek in second. Third place for Antonio Hrdljanovic, who we have seen battling incredibly hard with Choda earlier on, and Polotzek. And we have Muscat in fourth. Fifth place for Wopke Hoekstra. He's going to be hoping for a good race himself. Bora Milan starting in sixth. It's a bit of a deja vu moment from last race start, I think. Actually, in fact. Dennis Jordan in seventh. We have seen him be very quick, but can he finish in front of Siebel this time? Dino Paolini in eighth place. Again, can he maybe attempt to finish in front of Siebel, who's right behind him in ninth place? Our race winner from last race, and we're going to see how he does. He has a lot of drivers in front of him, and it's going to be a tough ask for him to win the race. Tom van der Voort in 10th place, the unlucky 10th place, but he did very well to start. Now behind we have Jonathan Holmes, who's making mistakes already going wide in Brussels, and then in 12th Ryan Nash. 13th for Josh Downward, and 14th for Mark Fuller. Jared Bartala in 15th with Edgar Reef in 16th, who's definitely going to want to get some points after this disappointment that was the last race. Menno Klont, again, the same story. Very disappointing last race. Not up to scratch when it comes to his pace, especially compared to his teammate. With Douwe Tapper in 18th place, and 19th for Rob Mason. 20th for Edward Batalla. 21st for Patrick Gerber, who we have seen qualify quite well and see him fight for the first little bit, but had a bit of an unlucky break very early on in the race. Jeffrey Fournier is indeed racing and hoping to possibly make his way up into the points at the very least. He's, of course, a very fast driver. Jack Mayer in 23rd. And final one of our starters is Matt Strand down into 24th. This could be very exciting.
Indeed, as Sandeep Choda comes round to line up, Just gets the last bit of warmth in those soft tyres. Doesn't want to take too much life out of them. Obviously, everybody is on the soft tyre. Just looking through the live timing data in front of us. Clearly, the correct choice here. Otherwise,
it would be a suicide otherwise.
Yeah, extremely slow.
So they're lining up onto the grid, and we're going to see them start in a couple seconds. And this is going to be exciting. Again, this is a reverse grid panel, the reverse grid from race 1. The top 9 are reversed as we have lights coming on, and all 5 alight. And here we go. Great start from Choda. Polotec slots in right behind Reljanovic under attack, but we have an attack on the outside by Muscat. Muscat up into 3rd place. Great start. But now side by side, Hoekstra and Milan right behind. This is going to end badly for O'Rourke.
Yes, side by side up the hill. Hoekstra and Milan giving themselves no space. Milan pulls out of it, and Jordan's now all over him. Otherwise, I think it's relatively clean through there. Everybody getting through. It's 3 wide down the Kemmel Straight between a couple of the Cosmos there. But otherwise, relatively clean.
Fuller, Enstrand, 3 wide with Mayer as well. But
there's been contact. There's the Cosmo round.
Whoa, and we have Fuller around, and Batalla loses rear wing, and this is all gone wrong.
I think we cursed that slightly. We said it was going great. I should go and watch it back. You carry on watching boards.
I think Batalla just isn't even realizing he doesn't have a rear wing because he just spun his rear tires like as if nothing happened. However, I think that's going to be our first retirement of the race, and I think it is, yes. Sandeep Choda is doing very well. However, Polotec is under heavy attack from Muscat for 2nd place. Again, we were saying that we think that they're going to be challenging for the win, and I think we are very right. The only person in front of them right now is Sandeep Choda, and it looks like it could be a fantastic battle. The top 5 runners very close together. However, behind we have a move. Zeeble moving on Dennis Jordan, but not quite able to get off the grass for 7th place. But now Zeeble on the inside of Blanchimont. Baulini trying to overtake on the outside of Blanchimont and into the chicane. Not quite able to do it. Breaks a lot earlier, and Zeeble keeps it clean. However, Jordan has him on the rear end again, coming into La Source, and I think he would be very brave to attempt to move right there.
Indeed, he would, and nothing doing, it seems. It was contact between Ryan Nash and Menno Klont that caused the spin. Klont not leaving enough space into Lecom and just clipping the front nose of Nash, and that sparked everything off behind there. Meanwhile, a bit of a poor start for Antonio Hranovic. He got a bit swallowed up into turn 1, and he now sits 4th at the back of this Leeds train for P1 as Polotec maybe looks to the outside at Lecom, a bit too far back, and gets shuffled out, and Muscat will now look to get a little closer there for P2.
To be honest, there are a couple trains right behind. There's a train right behind this train, which also has a bit of battle. So we have to really keep our eyes out on any changes in positions, because even Downward and Holmes are very close to each other.
Indeed, they are. Holmes obviously lost a position on the start there. He was up in P11. He lost out to Downward when the Cosmos decided to try and go 3 wide with him down the Kemmel Straight.
The enemy just made a mistake for P1 and just lost the place to Hoekstra.
So he's down to P5 now, and Hoekstra will take that free pass. Meanwhile, who's that drum down the field? Oh, that's Jeffrey Fournier. He's had an issue at P1 as well, because Reef went off the track and round the outside, I think, to get past. So I wonder if Fournier had a bit of a half spin.
Ooh, that's not great.
Fournier off as well on the exit of Campus as well. He's not looking comfortable at all in that car.
Not at all, but there's a battle for the lead at the moment. Choda is under a heavy attack from Polotec into the final corner, side by side, wheel to wheel. Can we see an attack on the outside by Polotec? I think we can. Oh yes, what a fantastic move. Polotec into the lead. Choda, no answer. Brakes earlier and harder than Polotec. It just made it look easy. And now Muscat is going to have to try and go by to attempt to move, possibly to not get lost behind Polotec or behind Choda as Polotec drives away.
Haranovic struggling to keep Boya Milan at bay for P5 as well. They were battling out the bus stop chicane and on the runs through La Source. That was unlucky for Sandeep Choda. He sort of locked up the brakes going into the bus stop chicane.
I'm sorry, but we haven't battled for the lead. He's coming back. Again. We haven't battled for the lead. Choda side by side with Pelosi.
3 wide.
Muscat starting to make it 3 wide. He can't quiet because there's just no space on the track.
That was unlucky. Choda moved over to block it very fairly and just prevented a possible 3 wide into Lecombe. Oh, Pelosi went a bit wide on the exit of the final part of Lecombe there. And he's locked up again through Brussels and gets way offline, and Choda's really starting to close up now.
This is a crazy start to the race. Choda, I think, is starting to really put some pressure on Polocek, and Polocek is feeling it. I think he's a little bit, maybe even mentally stressed out through leading the race. So it may sound funny, but it is what happens in the racing.
It's a very high pressure situation, knowing that you are leading the race and you've got the chance of the win right at your fingertips. But you know, it's so easy to get things wrong here. Hoekstra got a really good run out of Puan actually on Jason Muscat. But oh, who's that?
That's Choda.
Choda's lagged out into the wall.
I think it's just a lag. I hope he's not going to be losing this place just purely based on lag. But now Hoekstra has a run on Muscat for 2nd place, possibly.
He does. He looks to the inside up into the bus stop chicane. They're side by side. And Hoekstra straight up the inside covers it off. And Polocek's had an issue for the bus stop chicane. Got into a bit of a half spin and lost a little bit of time there. And unfortunately, Sandeep Choda has retired. Well, out because disconnect, and Fournier is out as well with suspension damage.
What a disappointment after starting from the pole and running in 2nd place, and I think it was running like as if he was trying to actually win the race. What a disappointing end to his challenge. However, Muscat is going to try and get back on Hoekstra for 2nd place, and I think he's going to succeed with DRS. Now he's already in front as the DRS opens.
Indeed he is. Battles everywhere as well. Downward is looking to get P11 off Manaclon. Oh, contact! What has happened there? Oh, there's more contact! And Siebel caught. No, Siebel's got through it. Who was that who spun as well?
Jordan and Muscat.
Oh no, what happened there?
Muscat closed the door, and I think honestly it all began with him closing the door, then getting spun out, and at that point, and luckily I do think that it's Muscat's fault.
I don't think he left enough room there, and that's caused a bit of a chain reaction, and I'm sure that'll be looked at after. Meanwhile, Sandeep Choda has rejoined, but will be a lap down, unfortunately.
You know who that is all a great news to? Boya Milan, who's currently in 2nd position and chasing down Tobias Polocek.
Yeah, great for Boya Milan. Antonio Haranovic's benefited from that as well. He's now P3, slowly being chased by Dino Paolini. And Alex Siebel as well. Got three places out of that, up to P5. And Tom van der Voort as well, up to P6.
Wow. That is very impressive for a driver who has finished, who has started last in the first race. And remember, this is a reverse grid race where he got lucky. And for battle for the P9, just downward in the Wopke Hoekstra on the inside into the chicane, and he's done.
Oh, massive!
Reef gets.
Oh, what happened there?
Downward. No, downward doesn't go to pits. What? Without the rear wing, that's mad.
What did Reef do? Did he? I mean, I don't think he managed to get it slowed down in time. He's gone straight into downward. Well,
never braked in time. I think he missed his braking point by a lot and just couldn't stop it.
He was 3 wide going into there as well, so he may not have seen the braking point, and that's. Oh, this is really bad for downward now. He's got to do a whole lap with no rear wing. I was about to say as well, there was a Cosmo in the top 10.
That was way too late from Edgar, and I think he's going to be looked at by
I think he's going to get more than a slap on the wrist for that one.
That was a big accident, and in reality, I don't. You know, you'd be looking at 3 penalty points, possibly even a race ban at this rate. But
let's look back to P3 though, because Antonio Haranovic is getting pretty closed down now by Dino Paolini, who in turn is dragging along Alex Siebel. for third place. There's a little bit of a train now forming all the way back down to his teammate Tom van der Waal in 7th.
Apparently, Jeffrey Fournier is saying that that his cause of the incident was being, as he called it, wrecked by Patel, but that's of course going to have to be under a scrutiny of a disciplinary committee, since we haven't actually seen it. But that's what he is saying, so some kind of a contact nonetheless.
Patrick Gerber is also got his own little train forming behind him. He's got Jonathan Holm very close for company. About 4 tenths is the gap there. That's over P11. And Dennis Jordan recovering after the contact earlier. He's in P13 and looking to get past as Holmes looks to the outside. Not enough space though. Gerber defends nicely.
As there's a comment on the YouTube, and I haven't even paid attention to it too much, but look at David Tapper, who has retired last race. He's in 6th place.
P6. That's totally correct. He's done brilliantly with a great recovery drive, just like Jason Muscat in race 1. And again, he's picking up vital points for Cedric. Looks at P3 now. Hrenovic's going to have to defend from Paolini. His Paolini goes round the outside with DRS. He's going to be a sitting duck here, Hrenovic. He tries to move to the inside to block Siebel. Siebel now tries to pick up the slipstream from Paolini. Could Hrenovic lose 2 places here? No, he only loses 1 as Paolini goes round the outside.
I think Siebel is actually set up a lot more for the middle sector, and that's why he's a little slower in the straights and maybe struggles a little bit with overtaking. So it's a bit of a Red Bull situation back in their heyday.
Yes, yeah, he's definitely got the chassis beneath him, hasn't he? And Hrenovic more the top speed, being able to block Siebel.
Yeah.
I think Hrenovic's going to struggle now to keep Siebel behind if he does have this Sector 2 advantage.
I do think so, and this is going to be so tight, but I think at this rate, I honestly don't think Alex has too much of a chance of winning this race because of Dino's. Dino is doing some fantastic work of his own, and Tobias Polotzik is actually doing real work with Borja Milan and struggling to keep his distance.
Milan is struggling to keep distance, but he does have the fastest lap with a 1:57.1, and although Paolini has just set a session best Sector 2. So
Okay,
Paolini's lapping very fast as well.
Milan is now catching up a little bit, but again, Paolini, it's going to be a close battle. I think it's going to... And we have a Van der Voort who just span off, and luckily he has lost another 2 places, and he's now under attack from Menoclon for 9th place. Or possible attack soon.
Oh, look behind for P11. Gerber again having to defend from a very quick Dennis Jordan, who's trying to make up some ground to recover after his contact early on with Jason Muscat. And he is struggling to get past Gerber, actually. Gerber's doing a really good job of defending. You know, he's a little slower than Jordan, but he's kept Jordan behind now for a couple of laps.
By the way, the last lap was half a second quicker from Dino Paolini than Borja Milan, who's... And apparently there's a battle for 4th place between
Siebel's
and Hreljanovic, yes, Hreljanovic is down 1 position now, and Siebel is now in the chase for the win. I think this is going to be a 4-way battle for the win between Polotzik, Milan, Paolini, and Siebel, and this is going to be exciting. We still have 60% of this race to complete.
I was about to say, there's 9 laps in it. I think it's totally possible. Whether it will happen is another question. Hrenovic really was a sitting duck there again to the DRS. Siebel just had so much more straight line speed to get past.
And yes,
and Jordan's passed Gerber. I think that's happened up into Bruxelles, although Jordan was pretty scrappy through the corner with no name, and keeps it online through Pouron, and will be looking to get past Menno Klont now for P10 to try and claw back some points.
Dennis Jordan is actually on fire. His first sector was fastest of anyone this entire race, and now middle sector fastest from anybody from Alex Siebel. He's on the mission trying to catch up now.
He certainly is, and he has brought that gap down ever so slightly up to Polotzik. It's now within 6 seconds, so he's doing what he needs to.
However, we're also seeing that Polotzik is actually starting to slightly, or has in the middle sector, slightly extended. Well, actually, he has not extended nor diminished his gap from Milan, because the difference in the last lap between Milan and Polotzik was 5 thousandths of a second in favor of Polotzik.
That is really close at the front, isn't it? I tell you what, have a look for P5 because Hranovic now having to defend from Kacper, who is on that resurgence from the back of the grid, and he's may have a run around the outside here, down the Kemmel straight. He should have DRS again, and I think he's all over the grass. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's just about to get. He's got the position, but that was
iffy.
Bit iffy. You know, more than it needed to be. He didn't need to be out on the grass. He had plenty of space, so not sure if he just misjudged it from inside the cockpit.
I'm just gonna take a second and say I like your joke, David. David Tune has posted tap in brackets per on wood. So yes, tap on wood. Yes. Well, definitely not in a woods car nowadays. Of course, a bit of a. Yeah, a bit of a sad story from Super League. Anyway,
Sewell now within 5.5 seconds of Blotzek, so he is pulling back the time. He's going to have to get past Paulini even very soon.
And yes, but Paulini is also happening very quickly, so it's going to be difficult to overtake.
Certainly is. I'm just looking a bit further down, P9. And what's happened to Jack Mayer? He's got no rear wing down to P18 and he's drifting through P1. Not the optimal line through there.
He's lost it out of Lacombe. But
yes,
it's very weird. It's very weird. He was on the grass. He was already going straight, trying to get back onto the track, and the car just spun out on the grass, going too quickly. And apparently Patrick Gerber is out. What happened to him?
I'm just having a look. He's okay through P1 and
spin through the campus going.
Yes.
Oh no! That's
curbs in AstroTurf, and that's a big hit. The whole front and rear end torn up. Rob Mason was very lucky not to avoid, hitting Gerber there, and he just managed to dive to the outside. So not good for Gerber there. He was putting in a really good performance, I felt.
Indeed. Also, we have seen the fastest lap from Paul Lotzek thus far, which was 1:10 quicker. Apparently, we have a battle for 9th though.
Dennis Jordan got past Van der Voort again with DRS down into Lecombe. Easy pass there, really. Just a case of faster in a straight line. Yes,
and as I was trying to say, Tobias Polosik was a 1/10 of a second quicker than Milan last lap, and then Paulini was a 10th, exactly to 1,000th of a second, a 10th slower than Alex Siebel, but both of them half a second quicker than Polosik.
That lead gap now down to 5 seconds down to 4th place, so the top 4 really closing up now, and I think this is going to come to a boil pretty soon.
I've seen Menoclant running wide, but I think he was just letting people. But no, I think he just lost a position or so.
Yeah, but he's lost a position. Was that to Jonathan Holmes? I think he's jumped back up to P11. I think he got a bit squirrely on the exit of sort of towards the P1 area, so not good for Menoclant.
Not at all. Menoclant not having the greatest of races. And yes, we have Jack Mayer into the pits, but he's so far down that I don't think he's going to get points unless we have another 2 retirees. Which, to be honest, can happen.
It's Spa, it's a bit of a cruel mistress in terms of tracks. You know, Wall's very close to the track, so you never know. There's still time for it to strike again.
I'm just following the lap times. This time around, Milan a 10th of a second quicker than Polosik. Paulini 2/10ths quicker than Siebel. So it's on and off, and I don't. Honestly, I think what we're seeing right now is Siebel and Paulini are quicker than Tobias Polosik and Bora Milan, but there's nothing to pick between the two pairs. As we have a battle for 7th place, and Wopke Hoekstra goes on the outside and very easily goes by Jason Muscat.
Again, DRS used to get past Jason Muscat there up into Lecombe, and had the line through Lecombe and managed to get in front of Muscat there. Quite an easy pass, and that puts Hoekstra up to P7.
I think that's basically the favourite overtaking opportunity right
Oh
there.
wow, I say that, and Hoekstra had a little trip into the wall on the outside of turn with no name. And hopefully he hasn't done any damage, but that's going to let Muscat close a little bit.
Hopefully, because that could... You know, the small suspension damage is always the most painful. See, it goes sliding a little bit. The most painful because at first you may not even feel it, but it sometimes kind of even amplifies itself with time, with the tire usage. And then you kind of, when you need to feel the car the best, you don't because of the small damage.
It's just that little niggle back there, isn't it? That you just don't quite have the confidence you did the lap before, and that can really upset your rhythm and upset your lines into further corners. Meanwhile, that top 4 gap now down to 4 seconds as Siebel starts to sort of close the sandwich together. He's really getting close to Paolini now, almost within a second. 1.2 is the gap between third and fourth.
Again, it's nothing between the two in terms of lap times between Paolini and Siebel. It's 1:10 this time around, or 1.5 going to Siebel. But again, Paolini was 2/10 quicker last lap. And Milan was 2/10 quicker than Kołodziejczyk, though. As we have...
Ryan Nash. Ryan Nash has been into the wall. Now, where is that? Is that on the entrance to Blanchimont?
That's before Blanchimont. That's the corner before Blanchimont. The very fast. It's not even. You don't even consider it a corner, but it is. You know, it is a bend. As Nash is struggling, I think he needs to pit in, and he does.
So he actually dropped it at first Stavolo. He went into the inside wall and he's done some suspension damage to that Cosmo car, and that's why he was offline at Paul Frere.
Very unlucky for Ryan Nash. Now he's going to have a bit of repairs, and his chances of a point finish are probably over.
Well, I don't. Yeah, he's a bit away off now, isn't he, with that damage? So unfortunate for Cosmo there. They were looking set for another double score, but that may not be.
We are getting closer and closer to the end of this race, but we still have a third of it to go. So. About 4.5 laps to go, I'd say.
That sounds about right, and Siebel now 3.3 seconds off the lead as this group of 4 edges closer. And I think at this rate he's going to be just short by the end, especially if he gets held up by Paolini.
I think, honestly, Kołodziejczyk, unless he makes a mistake, is going to have it. And hear my reasoning. Siebel and Paolini are about half a second quicker than Milan and Kołodziejczyk, either of them. Kołodziejczyk and Milan are about the same pace and consistently so. So at the moment, Milan is a bit of a buffer to Kołodziejczyk, willingly or unwillingly. So at this point, we have 4 laps to go. What would have to happen is, first of all, half a second a lap is not an easy gap to overtake from, because that's not a big gap in a lap time. Second of all, we're all on reused tires, we're all on the same tires, so there's nothing in it. However, Paolini is going to go for a move on the inside into the cone, not quite close enough though.
And now they're battling. This is going to really help Siebel get even closer, and even better for Kołodziejczyk because he can just streak away with the clear air.
So I think you were absolutely spot on, my sir.
Well, let's not curse it. We've done that before. Let's not go there. All right. Let's not say anything. Let's just watch and commentate on the action that's unfolding. We've cursed way too many people in our time.
Or have. But it is a bit funny when it happens every time.
Hey, no deliberately altering the result, right?
I'm not doing it deliberately. I can't speak.
Easy for you to say. I was just looking through. We still got a little bit of a close battle. P11 there. Holmes has just keeping him in a Clontner Bay. There's about a second in it there, and obviously we need to keep our eye on this P2 battle.
Oh, you're very right about the battle, costing them dearly. They're already 2.1 seconds behind Kołodziejczyk for Milan. This could end up costing them more than it's nearly worth.
It's worth, yeah. I think if you had any sense, you'd be trying to work together here to try and close up instead of battling each other. But obviously, everybody wants that podium position and those extra points, so they're not just going to roll over for Alex Siebel.
And again, Milan's not... I don't think Milan is quick enough to catch up to Kołodziejczyk. You really need Paolini to overtake Milan and then attempt to catch up to Kołodziejczyk. But they only have about 3 laps to go.
Indeed, time is sort of running out on this one. As Will Paulini looks to make a move with the DRS, he may do on Milan. I think Milan may be a bit of a sitting duck. To Lecom, he makes a dive one way to defend.
No, he was way too far.
Yeah, he was a little bit too far back, wasn't he, actually? So nothing doing there into Lecom. He may look a little later on in the lap.
It was a bit of a look scare tactic, but nothing more. But look how close Zeeble is to Paulini's rear wing. This is so close, and it could end up being that Paulini, for all this battling, could actually lose the position to Alex Zeeble.
Yeah, Paulini had a bit of a lock-up actually into Bruxelles, and that's what's cost him that little bit of ground. What is happening in the back? Oh, Hrenovic's been off! What's happened to Hrenovik? No. That was out of corner with no name. He's dropped down to P8, and that is not good at all there. What? Let's just verify what happened.
Just too wide.
Yeah, onto the AstroTurf and lit it up. And he has made contact with the inside wall, so hopefully there's not too much damage.
Yeah, he tried to keep it out of the outside wall and turn a bit too much on the AstroTurf, and then it ended up biting him on the other side.
And now he's going to have to keep Dennis Jordan at bay, which I think is going to be a bit of a tough task. Jordan is lapping extremely fast.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting. Can we see Paulini overtake Milan or Alex Zeeble attempting a move on Paulini? Now, this is gonna be fascinating.
Indeed it is. Zeeble has dropped a tad back, maybe trying to line them up into a Rouge. Paulini's really got to stay close to Milan now if he wants any hope of getting past up at Lecom.
This could be an attempt.
It's closer.
But does he have the top speed? And can he go through a Rouge quickly enough? I think he can. I think this is a move. I think this is the move that he can use for his second place.
Here he comes with the DRS round the outside. He's got to hope that he's not going to top out. You say that, they're side by side. No, he's definitely passed. Well done there.
Well done. That was a great move as he slides all over.
A little bit of a twitch.
But now, Bora Milan is going to have to really watch out for Alex Zeeble, who's going to be on a mission and attempting to move of his own on Bora and not to be held up too much. Of course, Zeeble fighting for as many points as he can for his championship lead to extend it as much as he can and not lose points to Paulini and Polozek.
So this frees up Paulini now, who had a session-best first sector this lap around, and he's going to have one more lap after this to try and close up to Polozek. Can he do it? The gap's 2 seconds. It's going to be tough. But with Zeeble now being held up by Milan, it's Paulini's best shot.
I feel like he has no chance. And I'll tell you right now why I think that. Tobias Polozek just did the fastest lap of his own race. And it's probably only about 0.7 of a second slower than what Paulini will be able to do. So, with that in mind, in the worst case scenario, I honestly think that Tobias Polozek is just going to have enough of a gap if he can keep this maintained to possibly win. But it's still one lap to go. It is the final lap.
Yep, and Zeeble went for a look. It is the final lap. Yeah, Zeeble went for a look on Milan into the bus stop chicane, tried to go around the outside the long way, and it didn't quite work. But he should have him on DRS now, up into Lecom. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
Yes, the difference between Paulini and Polozek last lap was 0.05 of a second. That's not enough. That's clearly not enough.
It's not. It certainly isn't. And now watch as Milan has to defend on the inside from Zeeble. He's going to try and go the long way round. Wasn't given much of a choice of which line he could take, but he's passed, and we're not even into the braking zone. Whoa, Milan made a look to try and give him another attack there, but a bit too far back.
That's a great move from Zeeble. He basically carbon copied what happened in the lap before with Dino Paulini, and at this point, I think this is looking like it may just end up like this if Zeeble doesn't make a very unusual mistake like he just did. He did drag his front wheel a little bit. Oh, this is a little tense.
Certainly is. We've got to watch what the gap is when they come up to Sector 2, but I think Paulini's just a bit too far back to do anything. He's not going to have much of a slipstream helping to the bus stop either. It's going to take a Polozek mistake for any change to the lead, I feel. The gap is 1.5 seconds. He's lost 2 temps.
Yes, he was quicker for the first sector. He was slower through the second. And now, Tobias Polotza going through the last couple corners, going through Blanchimont, and into the braking zone for the final chicane. And I think it looks like Tobias Polotza, your pick, I must admit, has just won this second race of tonight, with Dino Paolini second and Alex Siebel in third. Dino Paolini, amazing consistency. 2 races with 2 second places in a row. Great stuff. And Alex Siebel on the final lap puts in the fastest lap of the race, a second quicker than Dino Paolini.
Indeed it was. It was a strong lap from Alex Siebel there to close, but just not enough to get that P2. Boy Milan P4. That was a good result from him.
Kacper in 5th. Fantastic result for a driver who has actually retired the last race and has started from basically somewhere in the back the first race, if I recall correctly. Basically, Kacper, amazing stuff this race. 5th place finish, great. Bobke Hoekstra 6th. Good stuff. Jason Muscat a bit disappointing thing in 7th. Of course, after that early race mistake or contact with Dennis Jordan in 8th. 9th for Antonio Hradjanovic. 10th for Tom van der Voort, exactly where he started, so I guess he can't be exactly disappointed. 11th for Menno Klont, a lot better this race, but still a bit disappointing. Jonathan Holmes in 12th. 13th for Rob Mason, 14th for Matt Strand, Mark Fuller in 15th, and that finishes our points finishers. And we also had Ryan Nash and Jack Mayer as our last 2 finishers. Exciting race.
A really exciting race. I tell you what, a poor round for Epic Racing, only getting 1 point score tonight, and that's Rob Mason's P13. Otherwise, it's been retirements, and that's due to disconnects or clipping walls, so not good for Epic Racing there. Great result for Tobias Polotza coming from P2 on the reverse grid and taking a really solid win there. I wonder what it would have been like if Sandy Choda had stayed up front. That's my only thought from this one.
I think it would be a very interesting battle because he was about as fast as Polotza. However, that would mean there would possibly be a buffer between Polotza and Paolini, or between Polotza would be the buffer. However, what it would also mean is that Polotza would not be as far in the front, I don't think, because there would be a battle going on for the lead. So there's a bit of it could have been a double-edged sword, to be perfectly honest.
Indeed it could, and well, hopefully we'll see Sandy Choda out next time, because he did show some pretty good pace tonight.
Oh,
a good racecraft. I think back to race 1 with his battle with Hranovic, where they went 2 wide for almost the entirety of Sector 1. So, you know, great performance there.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. And I hope that this race was as exciting for you. Let's see if we have anybody lining up for... No, we don't.
Nobody for the interviews tonight, but...
Not yet. Oh. Anybody listening that has finished the race, we are welcoming some interviews. We're probably going to take about 2 or 3 if anybody wishes. Especially if you finish on podium in any of the races, we will highly welcome you in for a bit of an interview. And how about a driver of the day, Mike Pittman is saying to us? Ben?
Oof. Oh, that is a tough one. I mean, you have to say it's hard to look past Alex Siebel with this pace tonight. Obviously, you know, almost pure domination in race 1. Great driving in the second race. I think notable shout-outs to Cosmo in race 1 for the double point score. That was also very good. And also Tobias Polotza put in a really good effort in race 2 with a good win there. And Dino Paolini second in both races. Tough one to pick. I think you'd have to lean towards Siebel though.
Huh. Interesting, because I'm going to go slightly different.
Ooh.
I am going to go for Dino Paolini. And here we go why. He has finished second in both races, which is very impressive. He's only started 1 place in front of Siebel in second race, which basically they kept from the start till the end. But one thing I'd like to point out is how he has had, even though he did pick the inferior strategy for the second race, or for the first race, he still came in second. And that can't be said about everybody. Plus, he did absolutely amazing job catching up in the second race. Again, he was basically the same pace as Zeeble, except for like the last lap. So I feel like he well deserves the driver of the day. And yes, Zeeble definitely is one of them, but I think I'd argue that Dino Paolini had is well deserving of it, just purely based on the very, very even pace.
Exactly. Dewey Tapper is also an honourable shout, I think, for a great recovery drive in
for
race
a
2.
second race, yes.
Exactly. For keeping the nose clean and getting some decent points back for Cedric. And I think Drake did all right as well with double point scores in both races as well, which is something they haven't had for a long while. So good showing from them as well. I think we have an interviewee.
I think we may have an interview. Let's grab him in here. Well, we need to wait for him to actually unmute himself. But
I'll say he can't hear us, can he? This is awkward.
A little bit. In any case, yes, the race was fantastic, and both races were filled with battles. But the thing is, I feel like the second race was nearly just a little bit more tense. I'll be honest.
Well, I think the whole sort of four-way battle for almost for the lead was great, and I think if we had a few more laps, it would have been a little closer. And yeah, totally was definitely intriguing.
Oh, sorry guys.
There he is.
There we go. So, hey Wopke, and welcome after 2 interesting races. How do you feel about them?
Well, to be honest, I'm all right with it. I thought I could do better in both races, but especially race 1 was just fine. I didn't have the pace to keep up with the top 4, so that was all right. To get P5, it's the maximum I could have got there. But in race 2, I had an incident with Jason, unfortunately. I braked very late for the corner. I think I had the corner, like as in I would have held the inside line and he would have had space on the outside, but I guess he didn't expect me to come from so far back there. And we collided, and once our cars touched, they just locked together, so we had no chance of getting them back straight and continuing on as if nothing happened, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, we've been watching it as it happened, actually, and it was a bit of an unfortunate contact because it seemed like it was going to be a very interesting battle between you two, and it was a very nice, going very well until that point. So just a bit unlucky in the second race, but still first race, 5th place, still not bad at all. So good job, Bobke, and this. Again, it was an exciting race from our perspective. And how do you feel about the general? Did you have many battles outside of that? Because honestly, it was nearly hard to keep along with all the battles going on.
Well, in race 1, not really. I was just sitting there behind Borja. But in race 2, after the crash, especially, yeah, I was quicker than a lot of guys that had passed me, and I was able to overtake a few people, so that was nice. And well, to be honest, it was quite hard to really do anything with all the DRS. And if you were in a train, there was barely anything you could do because everyone was having DRS. So yeah, it's only the front guy who was unlucky, and he would get passed by 2 people, but then in the next lap he would have DRS and they would get back past. That's what I suppose happened at the front a lot. So yeah, it was mainly the DRS, and a lot of people had short gear, so it was quite hard to overtake.
We've seen a couple drivers actually did indeed end up they ended up being so much quicker, and then suddenly just cut out because they just hit the limiter. So that was a bit funny to see, especially in the first race. I think some of them may have become wise to it and changed it last race. So honestly, I don't think we're going to be getting too many more interviews, Ben.
Indeed, I think it's time for, as you always like, a bit of final thoughts, a bit of final reflection on the evening. And what a great evening of racing it's been. We had some really good battles and great performances throughout the field. And should be interesting as we move to Monza next, which is another top speed circuit. There's going to be plenty of slipstream passing. and you know, I can't wait for that one.
I love the RS is passing as well, to be fair. Just supplementing that bit of the slipstream. But yes, no, it should be fantastic. And Monza is always a fantastic circuit to just even look at. It's always interesting. It seems so simple, but so difficult to get right. And so with that said, I think we're going to be... I think it was a fantastic race, and especially the second race, the battle for the lead was amazing. We have seen some great respect between a lot of the drivers, to be honest, and some of the battles in first race as well, in between Choda especially and Trajanovic. And I think with that said, I will invite you to tomorrow, same time, to watch our Super League, our Premier Series. Then, from then, do we have anything on next week?
So we've got the Supercup show next Wednesday for a bit more in-depth review and analysis of all the events of today. So that's over on the SimNews.TV channel. And we also have the Super League show. We'll be reviewing tomorrow's Super League race, and that is next Thursday. And then we're back in 2 weeks for the Monza Grand Prix, and that's again being streamed on both GPV and SimNews.TV.
So that will, of course, and we have ITC back next week, so that's going to be very interesting. And anybody interested in having any interest in touring cars and close racing, I highly recommend you watching it, because let's be honest, touring car racing can be extremely exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be some great racing there, really close, and maybe a little bit feisty as well.
So with that said, I would like to thank all of you for watching, and wish you a good night. I was Kacper Kołodziejczyk, and joining me was Ben Willis.
Right, thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.